The advice provided in this podcast is general in nature. For your specific situation, you will need to get in contact with your local OT, vehicle modifier or mobility dealer and set yourself up with an assessment or a trial. Trials really do put you in the driver's seat, so get out there and get one going. Before we get started, we just want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors who make this show possible: Mobility Engineering, Driving Well, and Williams OT. This show takes time and money to put together, and we are forever grateful for their passion for our industry. Okay, enough of the business. Let's get on to the interview with Jenny and Brad.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny Gribbin from Driving Well Occupational Therapy in Brisbane. I am bringing you the introduction to this podcast episode today, and without Brad, because Brad is actually showing us is our guest and our host for our podcast today. So for the very first time ever, the ATSA Expo has actually come to Adelaide. So Brad, living in Adelaide, was super excited to be able to go to ATSA in his hometown and show us a tour of everything there was to check out at ATSA in Adelaide this year. The best place to watch this episode is to actually physically view it and watch it, because Brad is going to show you a whole bunch of videos of his experiences with different assistive technology and vehicles. So the best place to watch it is on the YouTube channel. You will find the link somewhere below. If you're listening, go back and find the link so that you can watch it on YouTube. OTs love going to the ATSA Expos because we're able to really see all of the different and up-to-date technology and products that can help our clients. So ATSA, for anyone who is not familiar, that is the Assistive Technology Suppliers Australia. And we actually have a few other episodes of the Drive Able podcast with going to ATSA. So episode 14, Ali has gone to Melbourne for the ATSA Expo. Episode 46, he's gone to Brisbane in 2022. And then in episode 47, gone to Sydney in 2022. And just recently in episode number 76, Omid Akbarian from Mobility Engineering. He was actually the Assistive Technology Consultant of the Year. So that was an incredible achievement, and that was a really fantastic chat. So encourage you to go back and have a listen and a watch. But really excited for this opportunity for Brad to show us ATSA in Adelaide for the first time. So let's get into it.
Williams Occupational Therapy focus their attention on helping people with their mobility needs. From driving to wheelchairs, Williams OT provides help to get people mobile.
G'day everybody, it's Brad Williams here, representing the Drive Able podcast. Today's a very exciting day because this is the very first ATSA Expo in South Australia, in Adelaide. And what we do for our podcast is we take you on a virtual walk around of the ATSA Expo. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that for you today and let you know what's on at these ATSA Expos. Now, this is a podcast. Now, the best place to actually listen to this podcast is where you can see video. And the best place to do that is on our YouTube channel. So although we would like you to listen to this podcast, we'd also like you to view it. So please head over to our YouTube channel. This is the Drive Able Podcast YouTube channel, and check out this video. All right, let's take you on a tour of the expo. Here we go. Because this is the Drive Able podcast, we're going to concentrate on driving. And as we walk in, the first thing that we can notice is the brazier stand here. The brazier wheelchair conversion stand has on display a wheelchair conversion for the Hyundai Staria. And this van has the 5 seats at the front and a third row conversion at the back with a ramp access. This has got a ramp that manually lifts up and down. You can get these automated, and it's got what we call the third row conversion in the back of the van. It's got tie downs, electronic tie downs that fully extend out to take the wheelchair and pull the wheelchair into place, and then you can tie it down. As you can see, there's lots and lots of stands. We've got wheelchair stands about prescribing different wheelchairs. We've got all kinds of assistant aids as well. So we've got the power assist on the front of that wheelchair there to pull the wheelchair along. Lots of different aids and providers. This one here is all about equipment to prevent falls. But like I said, this is a drive-able podcast, so this is about driving. This one here is the Freedom stand. So Freedom are a car converter, and this one here is their brand new Staria. This one's really exciting because this one's been fully modified for the driver. It's got two options on it. It's got the rear entry, and it's also got the underfloor lifter on the side entry. So this is a little platform that slides in underneath the vehicle into the little canister, and then it comes out and raises up and in. So I'll do a little demo of that. What we've got is a controller here. You can also do it by remote control, I've been told, but this one here, we'll press the button and the lifter goes up and the wheelchair can go in through the side. This is really unique for the Staria at the moment. This Staria has a completely lowered floor throughout. It's been lowered by about 10 centimeters. So wheelchair access is able to get in underneath the roof. And what we've got in this car is a lowered floor all the way through to the front. Okay, so these things at the front are called docking stations. This is what the wheelchair docks into. You might hear that term quite frequently. What is a docking station? Well, Dahl produced one of the leading docking stations. It's got a triangle element that slides into the dock, which makes it much more secure when you're on bouncy roads or going around a corner. The wheelchair doesn't move around as much inside the dock. You want your chair that you're sitting on to be nice and stable. Now we've got two different Dahl docking stations here. One is the older version, which doesn't have many adjustments in it, and if it does have adjustments, it needs to be done with an Allen key. But we've got this brand new electric one, which with a press of the button raises the docking station up or down. So we've got 62 millimeters, 63 millimeters, 64 millimeters, and what's happening is that Dahl base plate there is raising up and down on the floor of the car, which means that if you lose some tread on your tires on your wheelchair, or you get a slight flat tire on your wheelchair and it changes the height of your wheelchair, this is all now adjustable with a flick of a button. And you can adjust it when you need it, depending on whether you've had a big lunch and you're a little bit heavier and your wheelchair's sitting a little bit lower, or there's something wrong with your wheelchair. It's all adjustable, where before wheelchairs were scraping into docking stations and causing lots of issues. We get lots of questions all the time about side entry versus rear entry, and it really is about where you're going to use the car. Is side entry going to be better for you and where you live and where you stop your car all the time, or is rear entry going to be better for you? Now, rear entry, you're able to keep the rear seats in the back. However, on some cars now, we can put in retrofitted fold-out seats. So the seats come around and into place at the back. The wheelchair would go in first and the chair would come in after. So the kids need to know what they're doing to put the seats in place. The driver's chair can actually be put back into place and be swapped with the passenger area, so the person in the wheelchair can go from either driver to passenger, just like any other car that's on the market nowadays. You don't need to be disadvantaged if you're in a wheelchair. Freedom also have their passenger conversion here. This is a lowered floor Staria, and different to the Brazier one, this one is lowered all the way through to the second row. And the second row means that you're much closer to the driver for communication and feeling part of the family compared to sitting right at the back of the vehicle. Same type of elements with the pull-out tie-downs, electronic seatbelt towers. This one has also got a fold-down seat in the back, so you can have that family van. And the Staria is wonderful because of all of its electronics in the front. Don't miss out any of those creature comforts. All the cup holders and air conditioning are in the back, and the seats are slightly modified to fit the wheelchair in between. All right, let's go and see who else is here. As we continue around the show, we can actually see some Williams OTs learning new bits of information. As you know, Jenny and I are both occupational therapists, and Occupational Therapy Australia are here to talk about what it is to be an occupational therapist and the benefits of being in the association. We've also got providers of all types of equipment, hi Jess, and lots of different equipment from walkers through to wheelchairs, through to lounge chairs and so forth and so forth. We also get the providers of the companies that install things. So we've got a company here, CurveRec, and they are suppliers of lifters and harnesses. So we get to talk to the experts about wheelchair tracks, and we get to talk to them about tie-down systems and all the harnesses there in the back, the lifters, to the people that manufacture them. Then we also get to talk to the people that install them. So this is Wheelshare. Now this is a local South Australian provider. Wheelshare Mobility install things like turnout seats, chair toppers on the top, which house wheelchairs, but also the lifters in the back. But at the front of the car, as we go through there and we come around this side, Daniel's in hiding behind the door there, trying not to be in the video. We've got the hand controls as well. So all kinds of bits of equipment can be installed. So when you come to these expos, you get to actually talk to the people that provide the information and provide the equipment, but then you can also get information from the people that install the equipment as well. The other thing about the expo is that you get to try a variety of equipment. So across here at ATSA, we have many different types of wheelchairs that you can actually get into and test out. You can even test out the power assist, front drive, motorbike conversions, right through to pediatric equipment and wheelchair prescriptions as well. What's really good is you can actually meet your AT providers here. You can meet your OTs here, and you can talk through with your OT and trial lots of bits of equipment in one area. This one here is mobility engineering. So they do conversions, but they also provide these. This is the Volkswagen Caddy conversion. So this is a smaller car. It's much easier to park, but compared to the Staria, there's a lot less room inside for your wheelchair. It's a lot more snug in there. But if you live in a tight area like Sydney or something like that, you might want a slightly smaller car compared to the bigger vans, and the Caddy might be that type of car. So we've got all kinds of things to try out here. We've got cars over here with hand controls in it as well. So we've got the Vigel hand control in this one here that you can actually get in and actually have a feel for what it's like. We've got the Chariot lifter, which is a trailer conversion. If you've got a sedan and you can't get your wheelchair into the sedan, you can have a wheelchair carrier that hangs out the back of your car. It plugs into your tow bar. It's like a trailer, but not a trailer. Those wheels pivot around rather than you having to pivot the trailer on the ball joint. The lifters at the back here, they're all here on display to try different types of lifters, so you know what's going to work for your car, the size of your wheelchair, and what's going to work to be able to get into your car. Lots of different turnout seats as well. But the biggest advantage of coming to these expos is to really look at all of the options available for you with lots of different providers. Rather than talking to just one or two providers, you can actually come and talk to many people in one day. We've got trikes there for getting out and about as well, for people with disabilities. We've got all kinds of wheelchairs over here. We've got some amazing wheelchairs over here. Let me just show you this, because this is new to Australia as far as we're aware. And this is all about getting out and about. This might be the thing for you if you love getting out in the wilderness. We've got the Trax wheelchair, which is a bit like a tank, which means it can go over all kinds of terrain. These have been out in the States for a very long time. But they're now available in Australia. So if you are a hunter, or you love going on the beach, or you live up in the high country and you want to get out in the snow, the Trax wheelchair might be the thing for you. We've got stand wheelchairs here as well. We've got head operated wheelchairs. So the technology up here is you press the plates on the side of the wheelchair to make it turn left or right. It's also got foot controls for going forwards and backwards. And also what they've got here is eye gaze technology and gyro technology, which means that the way you tilt your head is the way that the wheelchair will go. The last stand that we're going to visit for the podcast today is the Auto Mobility van. We've done a walk around the entire expo here in South Australia in Adelaide, and the Auto Mobility van is showing you a Kia Carnival conversion. So there's lots of variety in the cars as well. Kia Carnival and Staria are two cars that can be converted to have wheelchair access, and as you can see in this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, they cut the floor to make a tunnel through the vehicle with a ramp access that is really light. I'll show you how light it is. I can actually do it with my foot. It's super light and easy to lift up and down. You don't need to be very strong to be able to do that. It's all sprung loaded, and the wheelchair person goes in through the back of the vehicle. And this one's got lots of seatbelt towers, so you can try out lots of different seating options in the van. It's got the tie down points at the front through to many tie down points at the back. One more thing about the ATSA Expos recently is that you can come out to the test track. So here in Adelaide, this is the first time we've been able to do this. We've got the Wavell Showgrounds here behind us, and we're actually going to go for a spin. Now, Auto Mobility have got a van out here, which I'm walking to backwards, but I'm actually going to get into the wheelchair and experience what it's like to actually be a passenger in a vehicle. So we've got Brendan from Auto Mobility in the background. He's going to take me for a spin around. There he is in the background. He's going to take me for a spin around the test track here, so I get to experience what it's like to be in a power wheelchair in a van as well. So come and join me. So I'm in the power wheelchair, and I'm about to go into the van to experience exactly what this is like. So come with me. I'm in the power wheelchair, and we're about to go up the ramp and experience what that's like to go into the van. Now, this is the Staria, and this has been lowered all the way through to the front as a passenger. And I'm going to dock myself right into the front. Now, we could dock here in the third row, and this would be the view out of the Staria in the third row. Or we can move through to the second row conversion and be centered in the center of the car. So we're just behind the driver. There would be the front passenger there, but this would be your view out through the side windows. And what's great about the Starias is the height. The height of the windows are amazing for view compared to some of the other cars that are around. Just going to try and get myself lined up here. How much further forward?
There, so we can put the restraints on.
So we're going to put the restraints onto the wheelchair. And that gets tied down, and onto the other side as well. Yeah. So the front's tied in there.
Now as you go forward, they'll ratchet tighten.
Okay, so as we drive forward, you might be able to hear that in the background. It's ratcheting and getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Perfect
out there. You. Excellent. Better put on a seatbelt. So it's using the existing seatbelt tower, and that's going to come around me, and I will plug in. And what they do is they install a extra seatbelt tower for my seatbelt to go into. Very important when you're in a wheelchair that the seatbelt passes underneath the arms of the wheelchair, so it's sitting low and tight on my hips and up on my shoulder. And when I'm sitting in the front, the view is outstanding. I'll shut the door. And it's just like sitting in the front seat of any car. I've got the view all the way around, and I get to sit close to the driver and be part of the family, like you would as a husband or wife team anytime you go out for a drive.
But nice and simple to use.
So what we're having demonstrated here is the click and slide restraints. They click onto a mushroom on the floor. Very easy to drive over when you're in your wheelchair. They click on, they extend out, and then what's really important is that you actually wind them in tight. So the wheelchair is pulled down, sucked down to the car, and is as stable as a existing seat. The ramp's going up there at the back. This is a power operated ramp. In the inside we saw a manual operated ramp, and that's the Staria self-closing boot. So Brendan's going to take me for a drive so I can get the full experience of what it's like to actually be in a wheelchair in a car. And on face value, to start off with, it feels just like any other car seat. The wheelchair has the cushioning, which can be better than a car seat because you can change the cushion to sit in the cushion rather than sit on the cushion like you do in many car seats, which are designed to have many bottoms on them on many different occasions, where wheelchairs are specifically designed for you and feel extremely stable. I feel like I'm in any car whatsoever, which is fantastic, and that's what we want it to feel like.
Around the showgrounds.
So we're going up and over bumps as well, and getting that full experience. A tight corner, rough terrain here with some potholes that we're going through, and the wheelchair is not moving. I am as stable in this chair as I would be in any other chair. So very rough area here where all the cows and pigs and horses come in and out of the showgrounds. But yeah, I'm as comfortable as I would be in any other car. Some grates and ditches, and we're relying on the car's suspension just like any other suspension for that bumpiness, for that ride factor, because the wheelchair has been pulled down, sucked down onto the base of the car, pulled down really, really tight, and it is as stable as any other car seat. This wheelchair has a headrest or a head restraint, which is absolutely vital when you're going in a car, because if we experienced any whiplash whatsoever, we need to have the headrest behind us. It's actually a head restraint more than a headrest, to stop me, trying to prevent me from experiencing whiplash when my head gets jerked forward and then backwards. It's stopping that injury from the propelling backwards. The seatbelt is sitting nice and snug across my collarbone, which is where I need it to be in this position, and that would be able to be adjusted by moving the chair slightly further forward or backwards. The seatbelt sitting nice and snug down over my hip bones where it should be. The seatbelt should be over your bones to help you in an accident, rather than being on your soft bits, which can cause internal damage when you're in a vehicle if you're ever involved in an accident. So getting the seatbelt placement is absolutely vital for keeping you safe in a car.
Mobility Engineering is Australia's leading automotive product supplier for disability customers. We have installers all across the country, over 100 of them, and we have the largest range of mobility products for vehicles in the country. Get in touch with Mobility Engineering for any of your driving solutions.
Now we're with Mobility Engineering, and in the background here I've got Omid from Mobility Engineering, who's allowing me to take this car out on the test track. This car has lots of different hand controls in it. And that's the best thing about the ATSA Expo, is that you get to try and test things out. And what better way of doing that by actually going out for a drive around. So we're going to test a few things out. We're going to test the
K5 gas ring. So
Yep.
this is a wireless removable overring, which is used for acceleration. And then you have a brake lever, right hand operated. And we have here left-hand operated hand control. So this is the Weigel E Classic. You would consider this motion radial, where you rotate down to accelerate, push forward to brake. Brad's going to be lucky and he's going to get to use the Weigel My Command. So this is a steering device that allows you to use auxiliary functions like your indicators, horns, and wipers, and just a plain knob as well, right? So he gets the experience, okay, what's it like to, move my fingers? Can I move my fingers and use the controls, or do I use something like this that it's at the fingertips, right?
All right, so I'm hoping that they've paid their insurance to allow me to get in behind the wheel. So let's all have a bit of a laugh at me. So again, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not getting the most out of it if you're listening through it through a normal podcast channel. Make sure you go over to YouTube and search for Drive Able Podcast. We've got all of our podcast episodes over there on YouTube. Make sure you go over there for these type of experiences where you get to see the people we're talking to, like Omid in the background here, but also you get to see the things that we're talking about when we're at these expos. All right, let's have a bit of a laugh at me doing some of the driving.
Yeah, catch you on the road.
All right, here we go, everybody. There's nothing like a challenge. I am using the E Classic hand control to start off with on the left-hand side with the E Commander spinner knob, which has got all of the bits and pieces in it that is normally on the stalks behind your steering wheel. So indicators, windscreen wipers, all of those type of things are in the spinner knob. Now, you can have some of those here.
They call that the Commander series.
Yeah, so it can be on there as well. But Amid's given me a challenge. I've got to reverse this backwards as my starting point, which is always good fun. I might even try and go through the gate backwards. Here we go. Anyway, it's very intuitive. That's the best thing. It's going to beep at me here as I go through the gates because it might pick it up on the sensors as I get close. But I think I've done this before.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, this is the place to come to, is the expos. And you're able to test this out just like I am here. So we're coming back here. I'm not using my feet at all. This is all hand controls. I can lock it in brake mode there, come down into drive, off, and unwind and release. And I can even indicate to show that I'm going away. It's got windscreen wipers in here as well. I can press the button and the windscreen wipers go, and press it again and it'll turn off. I can do high beam, I can do horn, and I can do all kinds of bits and pieces with this hand control. So what you can do at the expo is try out lots of different bits and pieces to see what fits for you. We've got different types of hand controls in this car as well, whether we'll be able to show you all that on this podcast episode or not. But yeah, it's fantastic that you get this opportunity to try it out. So what I've done now is able to test out a different type of hand control. We should change the spinner knob over to the other side, but for the purposes of this, we are going to... I'm not used to this one. We're doing the thumb slider, or the CT12, and this is a Kiwi product. Oh, and I'm not so good with this one. I was showing off in the last video with the other controller. This one is a little bit touchier. So I'm actually sliding my thumb for accelerator. Now there's multiple things that you can try out with this type of conversion. You can try out what it's like to actually put your indicators on, reaching up for it, and what that means to try and change your indicator as you're steering and braking at the same time. I've got to turn my indicator off and I'm not braking. So you can then compare that to putting on your indicators with the electronics that are in behind, which is much easier and a lot safer. And you can really test those differences out, and you can compare that to what it's like in the spinner knob. So that's it. Come to your ATSA Expos, come and test things out, come and try things and experiment, and bring your OTs, talk to the providers, talk to the modifiers, and get to know the products that are best suited for you. And that's it for the Adelaide ATSA Expo. We've been to lots of talks to hear from industry experts. We've talked about the NDIS has been one of the most popular talks today, where they're talking about funding, how it gets approved, all this assistive technology, how driving aids get approved. But that's it for this walk around. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope this is useful for you. We really suggest that if you're somebody living with a disability, get out to your local disability expos and see the experts. They're all here. This is a big pavilion. There's lots of providers here. It's actually really late in the day now, so it's actually dispersed a lot of the crowd. They're very popular, but you can look at little things from hair ties and scrunchies and hairbrushes right through to the big wheelchair conversion cars. Lots of things on display, lots of things to test out, and we recommend that you should get out if you've got a disability or you work with people with disabilities, and learn about all of this stuff like we have today. That's it. See you in the next episode.
Driving Well Occupational Therapy loves working with people of all ages and with all kinds of medical conditions to safely give them the opportunity to explore their driving goals.
A huge thank you to Brad, our leader from Williams OT, who has taken us on a tour of the ATSA Expo in Adelaide on this episode today. Thank you so much, Brad. We hope you just had the best time, and it's just always so useful to be able to share and show that information to all of our listeners and watchers of the podcast. So as we wind up this episode, please remember that all of the advice that we have showcased and provided on the episode is general in nature, and you really need to a proper assessment with your own occupational therapist to work out what is going to be the best solution for you. So get in touch with your local driving OTs and vehicle modifiers or mobility dealers so that you can actually get an assessment and trial. And people that are in Brisbane and Sydney, just check out the ATSA website, because there you'll find the dates there for upcoming expos in Brisbane and Sydney later on in May 2024. And all of the dates for other cities are always placed on that website. ATSA is a really, really great opportunity for you to trial lots and lots and lots of things at the same time. And we hope that you are able to find a solution that works for you. And trialing, as we know, trialing is always going to really let you have that opportunity to get in the driver's seat. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to bringing you another episode.
As we wind up this episode, please remember that the advice provided in this podcast is general in nature. For your specific situation, you will need to get in contact with your local OT, vehicle modifier or mobility dealer and set yourself up with an assessment or trial. Trials really do put you in that driver's seat.
If you like what you've heard, make sure you like, rate and subscribe. It really does make a massive difference. If you or anyone you know would like to share a story about driving with a disability, or you would like to get in contact, find the show notes, or find the resources mentioned in this episode, you can find us on Facebook. Just search @DriveAblePodcast for more information.